because you first loved us. Help us to understand your ways and be hopeful in our hearts and joyful in our step for your good will. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, the way of no return. I think that, well, we've sort of been on this journey anyway of there's no return from here, okay, right? There's a point for man wants to die, and then after that, the judgment. But in America, I think we're done. I think that we've entered a time where we're not going back. We're in the new normal, but I don't think it's going to stay this way. Even well, even the Bible. I mean, I'm not really predicting beyond what the Bible says, but things have turned pretty dark and pretty weird. I'm trying to not be so, drastic about my comments here, but we've entered some strange territory. What's that one? There's a movie that says we've entered some strange territory here. So that's kind of where I look. And I'm going off a little bit of what we're doing on Sunday mornings again, because this is what, I want you to think about Trump during this time, okay? I don't believe he's the Antichrist, all right? But I just want to, let me just print this. I was coming here after giving this some days thought, and now all day thinking about this. And I'm coming here, Sonia and I, she rode with me tonight, and yeah, we do that every once in a while. And we're listening to the radio, and it says on the news, Trump is going to sign an executive order saying that the Army-Navy game will be in February at a specified separate time because it's getting lost in all the shuffle of NCAA playoffs and stuff, and the NFL. And I was thinking, you gotta be kidding me. Because why wouldn't, okay, so the importance of the Army-Navy game generation, it is. It's pretty neat and all that stuff. But you cannot work with the networks or the NCAA or the NFL or whoever you need to do to get this done, to make this happen and bring it up, let's talk about this kind of thing. You're going to sign an executive order for a football game? And I'm thinking, see, I read a little bit about fascism this morning, and I've looked into a little bit of Greek history, and we'll talk a little bit about Greek history. But the idea is to control. If you can't, have your way, the idea is to control it. And the first way to do that is with power, military, or economic. And so if you can't get it that way done, with Trump, he's using America and then executive orders. And so we'll talk about some of this. Now, am I an anti-Trumper? No, I'm a pro-U.S. good. I want a good United States president. He's generally been good in a lot of ways, but he's just doing some things now. And it really honestly started for me, some time ago a little bit in some ways, but when he dropped the sanctions on Syria, that turned me, because anything for peace, and he doesn't understand those people. I think he honestly does, but as long as he can make peace in his time, he control it through dropping sanctions, raising tariffs, and those kinds of things. This is bombastic, short-sighted, and awfully unbiblical in my mind. So we'll talk about those things. So think about Trump as we go, and some of these, think about the nations. So when Daniel is in Babylon, notice in Ezekiel and in Daniel, things start happening fairly quick. In Daniel, it's chapter 2, where the king has the dreams and all these nations come up. So what is the work of Daniel? What are we doing here? It blanked out on me. I was talking this thing up, and now it is trying to do something naughty. We'll see if we can fix it. Choose this device. Okay, let's try this again. So right up front, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, just like, go, if that goes out, just tell me. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and then Daniel goes to the Lord for help, as he often doesn't. And then, so he comes back with the answer. You, O king, and behold a great image. This image, mighty and exceedingly brightness, stood before you, and its appearance was frightening. The head of this image was of fine gold, and we know that's Babylon. Its chest and arms of silver, its middle and thighs of bronze, its leg of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. So we know the four kingdoms that come out of that. We'll talk about that a little bit. As you look, the stone was cut out by no human hand, and it struck the image on its feet of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold, all together. Now watch. There were four kingdoms over hundreds of years, okay? And they culminate actually in the book of Revelation, so I would say thousands of years. In verse 35, they all together were broken. Now, I've had a lot of people. I'm on a couple groups in Facebook, and yes, I should just get off of it, but I am trying to work with a lot of people in some concepts. And one of them, I think, honestly, the main concept, and to be frank with you, this is the foundation of dispensationalism, which is the periods that God works within, the stewardship of his times, and who he gives those stewardships to, prophets and the church and others. Within the time frames that God is working, he is connecting a strategic plan from Genesis to Revelation. And so, like we said this morning, you can't understand the rest of Genesis if you don't understand Genesis 1 through 11. And at the end of Genesis 1:11, you're talking about Shem. Again, for like the second time, it goes through the genealogy of Shem. A little bit more detail, a little bit different. And you go, why would they give that genealogy? Why would God, the Holy Spirit, who knows what he's doing, by the way, go through the genealogy of Shem again at the end of Genesis chapter 11? Because Babel had just happened. Because Babel was just written about. And if you go back and read Nimrod and the 9 cities that he builds, and all those big metropolitan areas, they just weren't small cities. I just want to remind you, Jonah had to take 3 days to walk across his city of Nineveh. And there's one that talked about 3.5 miles long. Akkad, I think, was one of them. Or Uruk. Anyway, so in verse 35, the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold all together were broken in pieces and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor, and the wind carried them away, so that not a trace of them could be found. But the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. We know that that's the kingdom of Jesus Christ, and he comes and decimates all these kingdoms. Now, I could take you into Revelation 17, 18, 19 in there. And I can show you where these, beginning with Assyria and on through Rome, these kingdoms rise. And he says to John, one was, one is Rome, and one will be, or one is not, and then it will rise. That one is not will rise. That's Rome reconstituted. And that kingdom will be a conglomeration of 7 kings, 10 horns, right? 7 nations, 10 horns. So there's actually 10 nations with 10 kings, actually, is what it is. Remember, 1 subdues 3. I know that's a little cumbersome. My point here is that 4th beast looks ugly. The 4th beast doesn't look natural. And when you get into the book of Revelation, it's not, especially in there, but even in the book of Daniel. And so why? Because it ends up with 10 nations. It ends up with the Antichrist leading, that little horn coming out at the end. That is still in front of us. And people don't, especially those who want to say Jesus fulfilled everything and it's all done. You know, Gary and I are really solid on making sure that people in this church and who hear us know that there's so much in front of us. It's just uncanny. So this was a dream. Now we will tell you the king's interpretation. You, O king, the king of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom. Men are not taking it. Trump thinks he's pulling the strings. All these people. But God is giving them power. It says in the book of Romans and Peter and others that they've been set up by God. The power and the might and the glory, and into whose hands he has given. You are the head of gold. Another king inferior to you shall arise after you. So Babylon was gold. Silver comes next, Medes and Persians. And yet a third kingdom of bronze, that's the Greeks, which shall rule over the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, that's Rome, because iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things. And like iron that crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it shall be divided kingdom. But some of the firmness of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw. Why is it doing this? Was ist das doing? I was bragging about this, and now it's like,
You're not supposed to brag.
hello. So I'm just losing connection for some reason. We'll see if we can keep this going. But anyway, you're right, I'm not supposed to brag. Anyway, as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom. But some of the firmness of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes of the feet. So you got the 2 feet of Rome, east and west legs of Rome, Constantinople and Rome, I should say. Those are the 2 legs of Rome. Remember, the eastern leg of Rome lasted 1,000 years more than the other one. And then out of the legs of Rome are the 10 toes. And you connect Revelation with the 10 kings. So we're not done with Rome here. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. Revelation 13, and I saw a beast rising out of the sea. This is not a natural beast. Look at it. This is the best one I could find. I could come up with 10 diadems. It had 7 heads, 10 diadems on its horns. These are heavenly crowns. They're principalities. Now the beast gave the Antichrist his power. Okay? So these are heavenly crowns. It's not the crown mentioned in Revelation chapter 6 that the Antichrist first starts out. That's an earthly crown. And then I believe he's possessed by the dragon, Satan, later. And the beast that I saw was a leopard. His feet was like a bear's, and the mouth was like a lion's. That's Daniel again. And to it, the dragon, Satan, gave his power and his throne and great authority. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal head was healed. And the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. Just real quickly, some say, well, the head that was wounded, that's Rome, because it was wounded. No, that was the Antichrist was wounded. And I would suggest, I think you should look at both of them, because they're connecting the beast with the nation here. So that's my thought on there anyway. The Antichrist may very well seem dead or even die. I would think he would seem dead and come back. We'll finish it as we go. So there you got these vying of the powers of the earth. And we're at a place on the planet where, okay, I can't have my way. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to use economic, I'm going to use military power, and I'm going to make it happen. It's not just Trump. It is all of them. Europe is not quite there yet, but the Antichrist will come out of Europe, and he's taking notes. That's what I think he's doing. He's taking notes. Big earthquake is 6.0 off of Bandon, Oregon. This goes off every once in a while. That's on the Juan de Fuca Plate, 700 miles long. And I've done quite a bit of studies on this. It's similar to the one that's off in Japan and Sumatra. When this thing goes, it's going to be bad. These are just little glimpses. I think God is saying, hello, I'm still out here, you know. So just pay attention. Pay attention. I got a couple interesting things to show you here, hopefully. Just remember to say something if that goes off, please. Now it's, what is it doing? Oh, there we go. Okay. Now I'm paranoid. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Well, this is New York. These are Chabad emissaries. They're Hebrew emissaries. They're priests, holy people for concerning the temple and the things of the temple and God. And they come to New York and they meet, and it's called, this place is called the 770 House, and they come here to have this event every year. And so this is happening in New York, and it's really... Anyway, it's really interesting, the things that are happening. I want to remind you that Mandami, remember what he did? His first orders was, we're not protecting the Jews anymore. The divestment and sanctions are on. We're not gonna protect them anymore. And yet, the Jews have really not got the clue to go home. And that, I think there's beginning to be a real push by Israelis, Jews, even in New York and other places. This is the most populous nation in America, with Jews, of course. Brooklyn and some other places have got a good population, but there is a bunch of Jews in New York. So it's going to be really interesting to see that play out. They know that they've got some problems with Mandami, and not only that, but with some other things that are happening on the planet as well. This guy, I don't know if you know him. I don't know if you've heard, I want to introduce you to this gentleman. This is Josh Howerton, and I don't do this a lot. I really did think we had this fixed. That's really very strange.
I wish they could take a picture of us with all our fingers in there. Every single person, but. We're the on here, right?
Okay. Let's see here. I really did think we had this fixed. So that's got to be some kind of Bluetooth error with that TV or Wi-Fi. Anyway, I want to listen to this guy, and maybe you can follow him a little bit, either here or YouTube, but he is just really fun to listen to.
The verses are I get this until last verses the book of which last verses prophesy about a coming Messiah, and the things it says is that there's going to come quote unquote righteousness with healing device.
Yeah, it's not.
Fathers to children. Okay, so that is prophesied about the coming Messiah. You didn't know this. So when Malachi says going to have healing in his, the Hebrew I stumbled across this. It's obviously.
I guess I've got some more work to do.
What's his last name?
Howerton. Now he's talking about when Malachi talks about healing in his wings, and that word for the wings is the same word that was for the garments of the priests. And so that when the woman with the issue of blood, came up and touched the garments of Jesus, it was because he thinks that she was reading that, and she said, if I could just touch his garment. And so there's that going on there. he's very well read. He's reading into those very, very interesting things. And again, there's just so much to learn from the gospel. It's pretty neat. I promise I will work on this week and try to get it fixed. But it just so happens that we were talking about Daniel earlier, and Amir is in the Philippines. He's went to I think at least did three events in the Philippines. The last one was with 2,000 people there. And 4 years ago, I met a gentleman. Get this story. His name is Barrio Villadares. He was part of a bigger church, and when he wanted to teach, like Gary, when he wanted to teach the whole scriptures, and there were some things that they wouldn't let him teach, he said, "I got to do something different." And him and his wife went separate, and they have been baptized. Got all kinds of hundreds of pictures of him. They're baptizing kids. They're doing so much in the Philippines, just him and his wife. And it is so really neat. So 4 years ago, Sonia and I sent him to see Amir when Amir was coming. I said, "You want to go?" And he said, "Yeah." And come to find out, he just loves this. So he went again. We helped him go. We helped him go again. His father passed away the day before he went. So it was really a very tough time for him. But he went. Really enjoyed it. This is what he was doing. And believe it or not, Amir was doing Daniel. And you can see the statue there and the 4 beast kingdoms and stuff. And so it's just really very interesting. There they are. And so again, Barrio and Liberty, and hopefully you'll be seeing more of them. But we've got hopefully some really good plans for maybe a possibility of a church there, a building, and some things. And so can't wait I told him today I can't wait to meet him face to face. So it'll be really cool. So priestly and Levite guilds prepare for the temple revival. This is ongoing. Some of this has been going on for some time now, but now they're training the priestly and Levites, and this is really fun. An emerging effort to revive the Aaronite priest and Levitical assistants of ancient Israel has grown into nearly 100 strong professional community of Kohanim and Levites in just a month, led by young Israeli doctor and Temple Mount activist. This man, Nathan Huberman, 32, a Canadian-born physician, is building 2 separate but related professional communities rooted in the priestly and Levitical identity, each with its own focus and infrastructure. In theory, he adds modern genetic research, because we want to have the right line, right? Could be used to help sort contemporary priests and Levites into their ancestral family lines. They've been doing this for some time. Further refining how the 2 communities are organized. And by the way, there's been some articles about we've got this. We think we've got this pretty well pinned down, and whoever thinks he's going to be the Messiah is going to get his blood taken and check for the DNA of Judah there. And so it's really interesting. I'm here just connecting dots. He said there are people out there doing great work, and these communities invite people to take part in those dots that are already there and to connect them. So they're moving forward on the priestly temples and all that kind of stuff. I hesitated in bringing her name out, but it's very sad. Amy Grant, she threw an LGBT wedding. Now this is from an article and saying that she's pro-LGBT. And I would suggest that she's probably, okay, I'm not going to speak for her. I'm not sure if she's pro-LGBT, but it was it her daughter, or was it? It was a family member, if I remember right. But anyway, but then she writes this, and I've held on for this for a few weeks actually now, but then she came out with this song, Brooding Over January 6th. And it's go back to singing about Jesus. And I don't know, did you sing with her in the 70s? And I mean, yeah. And so this is really sad. It kind of reminds me of Beth Moore and some things. Hopefully Beth Moore's come out of some of that, but this is just, it's very sad to see people continue to break off here. So, Donald Trump, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute this Insurrection Act. Okay, now you and I would say, this is probably right. This is good. He probably needs to do this. There's some major problems. ICE people are getting hurt. One almost ran over and all that kind of stuff. We can go into that. But here's my point. See, remember last week we mentioned this. He's not going to win the PR war, the public relations war. He's going to lose it because people now see he wants Greenland, and he wants sanctions, and he wants tariffs, and he wants Venezuela, and he wants Minnesota. And so if he can't have them, he's going to just sign a piece of paper. And so, 5-10 years ago, we would say, yeah, he needs to do this. And I think even now he probably needs to do this. But when you combine it with everything else that's going on, sending B-52s and more aircraft to Iran and an aircraft carrier and all that other stuff, you're starting to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 together. You're starting to play that multi-level chess match, and you're saying this is getting pretty hefty. This is becoming worldwide. It starts in Minnesota and it goes to Iran. It's not the same. No, I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying that this use of the pen is mightier than the sword is worldwide. AI. According to Pew Research, 61% of pastors are relying on AI, and that's the word I want to use, relying. I don't think there's anything wrong with checking AI. I just want to remind you, and I put these pictures up here on purpose, because it's not a person or even people behind this. There is not people behind this going, well, we should type this for this question. I mean, first of all, this thing is too magnificent, too huge for anybody to be able to do that. It's not happening that way. It is a computer answering your questions. And we need to understand that there's no entity behind it. It is a culmination of data. And so it's a thing answering you. And we need to understand that, because there's no spirit in that. So that's a concerning thing. But so the major thing here is the pastors who are relying on it. That's the concern. And so steer away from people who rely on it. I'm not saying don't test it, okay? I test it. If I want a quick answer, I've got some things at the house, or even if I want to know, let's say 3 or 4 things in the Bible, like what does the Bible say about this? I'll test it. I'll use, some information there. But I'll say, I've got I'm pickling fish. You know how many times I've asked it about pickled fish? So anyway, it's really neutral. It needs to be careful to be used there, okay? A fire heavily damaged Mississippi's largest synagogue before dawn last Saturday. So 2 Saturdays ago, the FBI and Federal Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco arrested a male suspected of burning the same house of worship in Northeast Jackson that the Ku Klux Klan bombed in 1967. And so this anti-Semitism continues. What do you think that is? Well, it's already got it there. No, I didn't write it down. Here, it's right here. Where do you think that is? Well, first of all, what does it look like? Oh, wait a minute. Well, this is, see the deal here? I've got it in front of me. It's not showing there again. So, there we go. It's one behind. What's that look like? 2 eyes? See like teeth down there? That's the Vatican. Here it is in, oh man, this thing is messed up. Anyway, there's a white picture of it. It looks like a serpent, and it's a little concerning. I don't know. Did you see this? I'm not going to play it because I'm having sound issues. I really want to play this guy. So this is Senator Hawley, I think, if I'm right. He asked this professor who was called to testify as a professor about the biology of women and men. And he asked her to define sex. He asked her to define male and female. And he asked her over and over, and she said, I'm not sure why I'm being asked this, and I'm not sure. And he says, well, I just want the truth. And he quoted her. He said, you said that we should be relying on science and truth. That's what she said. He quoted her, and then she hem-hawed and would not answer. Would not answer. This is the world that we are in. Now, a woman like this has some power because she has a name, and she's a professor. So she's going to use her power sitting up there and say, I'm not going to answer your question. I don't have to answer your question. I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to give you what I want. Okay? The people in the streets are going to say, I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. Here, a bunch of us are going to riot. Okay? But on the other side, we've got some people who are saying, well, you're not going to do what I want to do? I'm going to order you to do this. I'm going to put a warrant out for you. You see what's going on? That the world is coming in where everybody's claiming sides, everybody's taking sides, everybody's using what power they have to control the situation. To control the situation. It's all about control. And that's what government...
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I apologize for that. So, demographics. France, let's talk about France. It records more deaths than births for the first time since World War II. More deaths than births. According to official figures from the National Strategic Agency, France recorded 645,000 births with 651,000 deaths. The negative natural population balance reveals a quiet but profound turning point for a country long accustomed to demographic stability. The scale of the decline is striking when placed in broader historical context. Births have declined precipitously, more than 24% from their 2010 peak. In 2010 was a peak. A collapse that has unfolded in barely 15 years and shows no sign of reversing. This is astounding to me. In just they peaked 15 years ago, and now they're just like that. They're breaking records. The statistical agency, in its annual report, also revealed France's fertility rate dropped again, falling to just 1.56 children per birth, the lowest level since World War I. Crucially, this decline cannot be explained by fewer women of childbearing. Instead, the data points to a deeper civilizational problem. Europeans are choosing not to have kids. So that's where we're at, and we've heard of some of this before. Despite the negative natural balance, France's total population still grew, reaching 69 million. That growth, as Western nations have become accustomed to over the years, come entirely from net immigration or migration, estimated at roughly 176,000 people. The age structure of France highlights the sheer gravity of the situation. As of 2026, roughly 22% of the population was age 65 or older. Almost one quarter of the population 65 or older, nearly equal to the share under 20. 2 decades ago, the country was visibly younger. Today, it is aging rapidly with fewer workers, fewer families, and mounting pressure on social systems built for a very different demographic reality. All this is leading to major problems. Islam saying, yeah, see, we've got control. Remember, their birth rates are 2.45 or 4. They're way above the rest of us. And so all these are coming to a head. And nations vying for power around the world all beside that. So it's just crazy. So across the developed world, birth rates are collapsing. Japan, Italy, South Korea, Spain, Germany, we've talked about all this. Governments continue to try to fight it with financial incentives, extended parental leave, and subsidized childcare, but the numbers keep falling. There is only one remaining country that completely unsettles the narrative. It is Israel. It's wealthy, highly educated, technologically advanced, yet its fertility rate remains robust. Israel's not just an outlier, but a total contradiction. Israel's total fertility rate stands at 2.9. I mean, that's biblical and very, very, very interesting. I think you would call that a God thing. That's what it seems like to me. Just some numbers there. Look at where South Korea is at now. This is astounding. Remember, you got to have 2.1, and some of these are half or less than half of that. So it's a horrible situation for many of these countries. Religion. One of these articles says the factor the West is choosing to ignore is religion, the Bible. Remember, we even talked about that this morning. Multiply, cover the face of the earth, and what did the governments decide to do? What did Nimrod and his fans decide to do? We're going to build a tower, and we're going to keep God from dispersing us among the planet, over the planet. That's what they said they were going to do. So anyway, the U.S. deficit shrinks, $29.4 billion. That's good. Gas prices. Look at the oil. This is very problematic for Russia. When you get down below $60, Russia's got a major problem. China has to buy. China's not doing too bad because Russia can't sell as much as they would like. Iran can't. And so China is able to buy it at a real good bargain. But that's where Trump is saying, well, we got to cut off Venezuelan oil to China, and we got to try to cut off Iranian oil to China. And he's not sure what he can do about Russia, but we'll continue to see this. U.S. freezes visa processing for 75 countries. See? And again, is this a good thing to do? A lot of them Islamic, very problematic countries. I bet you if you talk to Rubio, even if he didn't have Trump's ear, he would agree with this. He's very intelligent. I really, really like Rubio. He would say this is the right thing to do. But you put that in a line of tariffs and sanctions and you know, the Resurrection Act, or Insurrection Act, not the Resurrection, that's Jesus. The Insurrection Act, I like the Resurrection Act. We're going to name a sermon after that. But you put these on the line. You see what Trump's having to do, or seemingly having to do, is to put all these things in order to say, I got to control things. Not just in the United States, but for the good of the United States, and that affects the world. And so that's what is happening right now. In Oklahoma wins the fight against the Muslim Brotherhood. The Patriots of Broken Arrow drew the line, and the Muslim Brotherhood linked mega mosque expansion just got stopped. So they did something in the city that even Texas and Detroit and of course Minnesota, Michigan, they haven't done yet. Oklahoma's towing the line, so that's good. Anyway, all eyes on Oklahoma as that happens. Now, here's a cartoon that came up this last week. I'm still waiting, they're in prison here, I'm still waiting for the warmth of collectivism to kick in. So they're in a communist nation, and they're in prison for breaking the law. Just a reminder that Mondami, on the left, New York's new mayor, said we'll replace the rugged individualism, which is anti-West, anti-US for sure, anti-constitutional. Remember, the individual has the rights before God. He's gonna replace all that with collectivism. I think that sounds like treason to me, or very close to it. Look at Stalin. He said the individual is nothing, the collective is everything. So we've talked about this. This is nothing new. We've talked about this. There's your Marxist leaders there. But now watch. I did that. I put that back up there because I ran across something this last week as I was thinking about these world leaders and these beasts to come and how they control things. Nimrod, the whole sermon thing this morning. Watch. Here's a quote. The strong take, this was a philosopher, the strong take what they can, the weak give what they must. Actually, I think this was Herodotus, one of the writers. The weak give what they must. This is the world. This is really the way the world is. If you're a leader and you can get on top of this and understand this, you can control a lot if you have money and power. So with the Greek, it's called the Greek thing. And I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but just a little bit of something that's called the Greek thing. Now this is paradoxical, watch. It refers to a profound, paradoxical, and enduring cultural, intellectual, and political explosion of ancient Greece, particularly in the 5th century, that laid the foundations for Western civilization. This laid the foundation for us. It encompasses a blend of high-minded idealism in art, philosophy, alongside a sometimes chaotic reality of political discord, war, and colonialism. So you've got a part of the country or an ideal of the country where we love nice cars, we love our buildings, we love our culture, all that kind of stuff. But we have to control. We have to have a government. We have to fight wars. And sometimes we want to do imperialism and colonialism and those kinds of things. And these things battle within your own nation, okay? You're dealing with this within your own nation. And to be frank with you, that's where we're at right now. Political innovation, the basic unit was the polis, the city-state, with Athens, pioneering democratic principles, roughly 508 BC, while Sparta, everybody's heard of Sparta, right? The fighting militaristic power. Their period also saw the development of citizenship and law. Now, there was a period of time where they had to come together and fight Persia. They had to fight their enemies. So they would come together and do that. But there was a split, a huge split within the country of maintaining democracy, maintaining art and wonder and school and all these things, law. But Sparta said, you know what? We need to be powerful. We need to control our situation. We need to control our area. And if we need to fight Athens in the same nation, if we need to fight Athens, we will. And that's what happened in Greece. The downfall of the Greek city-state wasn't a single event, but a gradual decline from internal conflict. The Peloponnesian War. Economic strain. Political instability. Anybody see any resemblances? Leading to exhaustion. Anybody exhausted? When I was reading this, I'm kind of exhausted. Vulnerability, ultimately paving the way for external conquest by Macedon, Philip II, Alexander the Great, and then Rome. You see the beasts? Which absorbed them into larger empires, ending their independent political power. The system of independent polis became obsolete, weakened by constant warfare and ability to unite effectively, making them ripe for domination. This article that I came across, I looked up and was working on, was not really speaking to the United States issue. I wanted to know what happened to Greece and how Alexander came out of that, how these beasts kind of conquered each other. And this struck home to me. That's why I put the United States flag up here. This strikes home in a big way. We are in the biggest divide we have ever been in, ever. This is worse than World War, the Civil War. I believe that with my whole heart. Briefly, U.S. Used sonic weapons in Venezuela. Why would he do that? Why would they do that? To show them that we can. Watch what one of the observers, one of the guards said. They were technologically very advanced. They didn't look like anything we fought against before. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed, it felt like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. The witness then describes the U.S. deploying some sort of sonic weapon against the forces. At one point they launched something, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon or whatever it was. Those 20 men without a single casualty killed hundreds of us. The witness claimed we had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it. So now I don't really, to be frank with you, know if this absolute truth, but I do know this. I did ask this question. Why would they do that? To show China, to show Venezuela, to show Cuba, who uses this stuff. Cuba's used this on some of our diplomats, smaller ones in their hotels, to show them what we can do. And so, anyway, the U.S. forces seize a six Venezuelan-linked tanker. So they're taking oil by the gallons. It is my great honor to announce the Board of Peace. The Board of Peace, you would think, is for the world. It's not. It's directly for Gaza right now. It's going to be expanded for the Middle East and beyond, but it's set up specifically for Gaza right now. He's announced it. It is coming after Turkey and Qatar received representation on the Gaza Steering Committee. The Prime Minister's office now announces the announcement of the composition of the Steering Committee, which is subordinate to the peace conference, was not coordinated with Israel, so this is Netanyahu, and contradicts Israel's policy. The Prime Minister instructed the Foreign Minister to address this matter with Rubio. Israeli government says no to Turkey on Gaza. And Qatar is another issue. So it's going to be really interesting where this goes, because Netanyahu and Likud party are saying, we can't do this. And Trump is letting Witkoff and his son-in-law Kushner handle this stuff, and it's just not smart. Along the same lines, Brandon Holthaus, if you've never heard of him, we've got our church on his website, by the way, in California, called the Remnant Churches. This church is on that website. And this is Melchek, Oliver Melchek. He's with Chosen People Ministry. They got together this last week and they were talking, and they said, why is the conservative right turning against Israel? We've exceeded polling of 50% of the world as harboring some kind of anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish sentiment. And so now, I just want to remind you, and I bring this up every once in a while. The right, the conservative right, has a history of anti-Semitism in the United States and across the world, okay? And we need to be really careful, because what it comes down to, and here's where it comes from, it's about nationalism. It's about, I'm going to protect America. And so any kind of outliers, like, you're a problem, and if they see a problem, and that's why Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, these others are saying, see, the Jews have too much power. But you know what? So does everybody else. Everybody's got lobbyists. Everybody's got money. So it's not just the Jews. They're picking on the Jews, but they see this problem. And we know it's a spiritual problem as well. Along those same lines, now this is a JFeed. This is a Jerusalem Feed article. This is not my words, but I just want to show you what's coming out of this feed. Treason in the West Wing. How Hillbilly, they're calling him Hillbilly now, because Hillbilly Elegy is a movie, a documentary on him. But anyway, how Hillbilly J.D. Vance is handing the Ayatollahs a license to kill. So you see where they're going? So then they stick this duo together, Vance and Carlson, is allowing the Iranian regime the one thing it needs most right now, which is time, at the most critical junction of the protest, while the streets of Iran are burning and regime is teetering. Vance and Carlson are making the U.S. president look like a walking joke. They are turning the man who promised maximum pressure into someone who breaks his word. Now, this is really very interesting. This is not true. I don't know what Tucker's doing. I just don't even want to go into Tucker tonight, really, to be frank. There's some things that Vance has said about Jerusalem and our protecting, and I don't really care for, but that's not what is happening here. This is a false feed, okay? And the reason I say that is because Trump is doing this himself. He doesn't need help. He has sent two messages. We're coming. No, we're not. If you cross this line, we're coming. No, we're not. He's done that. And he's done it before as well. So we'll work through this a little bit. Now, so now I want to remind you, let's just go back. Remember the bombing of Iran, the 12-day war. And what did Hegseth do, Secretary of War, with Trump, the commander-in-chief? What did they do? They sent some bombers east, but they used the ones going west. So Trump knows what he's doing. I'm not sure if it's right in everything he's doing, but he knows what he's doing, okay? So why is he sending two messages? And let's just work through this. The U.S. CENTCOM and regional partners have launched a new coordination center at Qatar's Al Udeid Air Base aimed at strengthening integrated air and missile defense across the Middle East. So in Qatar, they're saying, we want to stay here. We want to defend the Middle East through this base. There's 10,000 people there. You got all the aircraft in the world that you need there. That's what they're saying, okay? But now watch what goes on. We'll get into a little bit more of that here in a minute. Greenland says yes to America. This is Nick Shirley. After Minnesota, he went to Greenland and he started asking a bunch of people, and I listened to it. He's saying, honestly, they're open to the United States helping them out and maybe possibly buying or doing whatever, because they see a lot of prosperity underneath the United States. Trump, if we don't take Greenland, China, or Russia, we will take it. See what he's saying? We will take it, but then lately he's been saying, well, we're going to buy it. And by the way, we're going to tariff. We're going to put tariffs, and he's already done it. It's announced on February 1st, there's going to be tariffs on all the nations, the European nations, that don't support him, 10%. That goes up in June to 25. So we're going to take it, but then we're going to buy, or we'll buy it, or you're going to give it to us, one of the two. So you see these messages that he's doing? Somalia has decided to cancel all agreements with the United Arab Emirates, including security and defense agreements. So remember, Israel has put a base over there in Somaliland, and now that's where the UAE was. They don't like Saudi Arabia, so now Somalia, which is friends with Turkey, has decided to cancel agreements with the UAE, so there's all this mix-up in the Middle East, and Israel, that's because of Israel. Russia loses 25,000 troops monthly now in Ukraine. That's just horrible. Yesterday, Russia's Putin called Netanyahu and offered him to be a mediator with Iran. That's like letting the fox in the hen house. I know I'm going through some of these pretty quick, but I want to get back to Iran. Let's deal with the Turkey and the Kurds first. If we cannot ethnically completely cleanse the Kurds, we cannot eliminate them. So that was a stance. This is a stance by the leaders of the Turks. And for the last 2 weeks, they've been at war again. They were supposed to be friends, but they were at war. Here's Syria and Turkish troops attacking the Kurds. And so here we go again. Okay, that red area there is an area within the yellow that the Kurds have lost this last week. The green has taken that area with the help of the Turks. Okay, so they're fighting. The Kurds are losing pretty big now, because the Turks have poured some troops into there. The collapse of the Kurdish forces, first in Aleppo, then in some other places here, is colossal. What makes it even more striking is that, to many observers, it appears to have unfolded with the knowledge and possibility, even the tacit consent of the United States. The United States has stopped helping the Kurds in a major way, the democratic Kurds. So the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. warned Giuliani, this is the president of Syria, the Green, if he continues to fight against the Kurds, it will reinstate the sanctions. They were lifted from his entity. Turkey was also put on notice about this. Well, the Kurds just signed an agreement, supposedly, again. They signed an agreement yesterday with Syria to lay down their arms and be incorporated. So all of these people have just lost all their rights. This is a statue on the right of the PKK. No, I'm sorry. Is it the YPK? The YPK, which has a lot of women fighters in it on the right. That's a statue of the women, democratic women who are fighting for the Kurds. That was torn down today. So they are in real trouble. They have crossed, I'll show you, they're crossing the Euphrates right now. The Wall Street Journal, the U.S. warned Giuliani that if he continues to fight against the Kurds, it will reinstate the sanctions. I already mentioned that. There is a video out. Those are some Giuliani fighters, some terrorist fighters. And there's the cities that they've taken. The entire Deir ez-Zor, that's a huge outfit. And by the way, you know what's in that yellow area there? Remember the yellow area? All the oil. All the oil there. Who else is there? United States troops. Do you think that the United States troops are going to stay there now? I really am not sure that they will. At this point, I think, it sounds like to me that Trump has given up on Syria. A comprehensive and immediate ceasefire will be declared on all fronts. This is of today. All SDS forces will withdraw to the area east of the Euphrates. SDF forces will be integrated as individuals, not as a group, within the Syrian security forces. Can you imagine an SDF, Democratic Free Fighter, being incorporated into a terrorist group as an individual and not as a group with others? There's no way this is going to work. The Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa provinces will be transferred to full, immediate administrative and military control of the Syrian government. There goes the oil. All Kurdish civil institutions in the Hasaka province will be integrated within the framework of the Syrian state. Full control over all border crossings and oil and gas fields in the area will be transferred to the Syrian government and Syrian army forces. And so, now, just a reminder, who now, if this all carries through, if the Kurds don't pick up arms again, which they're on their heels now, who now has control of that oil in Syria? It's Turkey. It is Turkey. It is now their playground. Are there hills and mountains in Syria? Yes. But most of it's plains, and now all you got to do is pour your 1.5 million troops across the plains if you want. It's in a bad situation. Now, this was back in 2016, and I just want to put that up as a reminder that I think we're headed there again. I think that the rest of the troops may very well be leaving. We'll have to watch and see if that is the case. A member of Turkish opposition parliament revealed that the Turkish Red Crescent regularly pays monthly stipends to ISIS fighters and their families. When asked why, the Red Crescent reportedly answered, "This is EU money given to Turkey as aid, not Turkish money." And so they're buying off and assisting ISIS. They've done this before. I'm not saying this is happening because they're in the fight to control the areas. And if ISIS tries to shoot Turkey, Turkey will take them out. But I think Turkey would rather use them. They're really good fighters, and there's probably that going on. So, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman have convinced the U.S. President Trump to give Iran a chance. Okay, now we're getting into who's lying, all right? Is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman telling President Trump again not to attack Iran? And they probably are, because they've done it before. But Trump says it's time for new leadership. He said that. The war machine is on the move. The task force is headed for the Middle East. So we know that from Asian waters. We know that's happening. Trump said this: "I'm convinced myself not to strike Iran. Thanks, regime, for halting the executions." There was supposed to be 800 executions taken out. They didn't hang anybody publicly. They shot thousands in the streets. The number right now, the best estimate is between 16 and 20,000. 16 and 20,000 of their own people. Can you imagine? There are 80 million people. We have 340 million people. Can you imagine if that happened in the United States? It's just unbelievable. So President Trump may have paused an immediate strike, tweeting his thanks to the Iranian leadership for canceling the 800 planned public hangings, but the American military is preparing for war. Confusion reigns in Israel, while reports yesterday claimed that Netanyahu urged Trump to delay the lack of readiness, because they're saying that Netanyahu wasn't ready for this. The IDF spokesman issued a rare clarification today, stating that the military is fully prepared for both offense and defense. Meanwhile, reports indicate that the head of Mossad has met with President Trump in a frantic bid to coordinate strategy before the windows close. And so Mossad came over to the Washington, D.C. and talked to Trump. We don't know what's coming out of that, so we'll have to wait and see. Killers are still coming across the Iraqi border to kill protesters. Here's some blurred pictures. You can see these people standing in the streets with guns. You can see these are children. This is a video, and it scans a bunch of children. They were singing the wrong songs, and they put black hoods on them and duct taped their mouths and abandoned their arms. And so this is what's happening in Iran. Trump says Iran meetings are off and help for protesters is on the way. So he keeps saying that. There's all the U.S. bases in the Middle East. Just want to remind you that there's still a ton of firepower there. You bring in a carrier group. I think the Abraham Lincoln Group is coming in, and you've got all the power you need to do what you want to do. The question is what's going to happen. The Wall Street Journal, the U.S. is evacuating some of the bases. So there's another picture of the U.S. leaving. Los Angeles, Iranian protesters rise up. Why do we allow that? Here's a picture of a woman who has dropped her scarf in the street of Iran, and she's singing. And they're just, look at the one on the right has no scarf. Sorry. Man, I gotta fix this. That's not even clear. But these people, you can see this woman is enjoying her freedom right now, but the question is how long is it going to last? It's very, very sad, very, very sad time. Have you seen pictures of the 1960s and 70s Iran? They've got U.S. cars there. They got, the ladies dressed normally, and the guys are having fun. Guys got a little bit long hair. Was it a hippie? I don't know, but anyway, they were free. There's no doubt about that. So, what happens if the Ayatollah is killed or flees? Well, right now that does not look like the case. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I wanted to pose this question because if he flees or if he is killed, does Iran change? And the answer is they may go quiet for a while. But I want to remind you what happens in Ezekiel 38. A thought comes into Gog's mind, and he is able to go south, and Persia or Iran joins him. So things will change on a dime. If things get quiet in Iran, we need to be very careful. It may be, wouldn't it be interesting if God said, I'm going to settle things down. I'm going to quiet America. I'm going to quiet the Middle East. I'm just going to settle things down. He hasn't in 10, 12 years. Not since I've been here. Things keep ramping up. But if he calms things down, remember what the Bible talks about, the peace before the storm. And we just need to be really careful about keeping these things in mind. Right now, the United States looks like a very, very prosperous nation coming even more so in 2026. It looks really good for America in 2026. But spiritually, and the divide in the world and in the nation looks absolutely horrible. Meanwhile, Iran says, well, the next bullet is going to be in Trump's head. They're threatening him. Trump's going along with this, I guess, whatever. Iranian journalist, author, and human rights activist said this to the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran during an emergency United Nations Council meeting in New York. It's a lady. They tried to kill her 3 times. And she talked before Congress the other day. I just happened to be, when I was getting my tooth fixed, I was coming back and I was listening to her. And they tried to kill her. You could hear in her voice that she was angry. She was calling upon the United States to stand, to try to save thousands of people. Anyway, and she's concerned that they will try again. Another concern, this is interesting, this is a really good videotape if you can find it, video and audio, but here's a call-in show I'm not sure where it was actually, where these people are, okay? But an Iranian woman is a daughter of one of the commanders. And you could hear it in her voice. It's about a 10-minute interview, and she is cracking, she's crying, she gave a false name up front. She calls herself something else, and then at the end she gave her real name, which is kind of odd. But she's crying and just broken. And this is right up front. She says, I am calling from within the system. Be careful, these commanders they pack their bags and their suitcases, they're ready to go. The commanders want to leave. They don't want really part of this because they see a major problem coming. She says this thing can fall with some help. However, she's seen it from within. She was with friends who were killed and other things, women, and it's just horrible, the stories that she has. And it's just really, really horrible in Iran. Don't you wonder sometimes, Lord, when are you going to fix this? When are you going to come down and fix this? And of course, it's not up to us, it's up to him. He knows what he's doing. More confusing signals within Iran. Saudi Arabia. As Iran weakens, questions grow over MBS, the prince. Riyadh's recent moves from Yemen to Turkey are fueling debate over whether MBS is expanding his regional role with the United States interest. As part of that recalibration, watch this, Bloomberg reported on January 9th, and now multiple reports are, Saudi Arabia is talking to Turkey and Pakistan to make a mutual defense pact. This would be pretty much in the face of NATO. This would be a kind of a Middle East NATO, if you will, and saying we don't trust America. And so and to be frank, MBS, if he does this, he's walking into a bear's trap. Al-Assani said the shift has already delivered results. The shift has given Riyadh, that's the capital of Saudi Arabia, increased flexibility in engaging regional powers, a change Turkey quickly recognized, and that has translated into expanding economic cooperation. Now, I just want to remind you of Turkey. Turkey will take any opportunity to project its power and deceive the nations. Saudi Arabia will take any opportunity to protect their riches and their people. So that's what's happening. And to be frank with you, Saudi Arabia is on a losing end with this thing. Just read again Ezekiel 38. He rejected claims of alignment with the Muslim Brotherhood because Turkey's aligned with them. Saudi Arabia designated the group as a terrorist group in 2014, and this position is unchanged. And now, but yet the main leader besides Qatar is Turkey for the Muslim Brotherhood, and now they've linked arms. So this is not good for the West. The dollar, the dollar's rising in Iran. According to estimate, Al-Khamenei's fortune is valued at $250 billion or $300 billion. He's a very, very rich man, but he's a very old man. Anyway, they're saying, hey, Trump, come and kill us. We're ready to go. There's the real falling bad. So, Donald Trump, effective immediately, if any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all businesses being done with the United States. So add that to all the tariffs and the sanctions and executive orders and all these things happening, This is power upon power, military and economic power across the planet. And it's just really extraordinary. It is a type, it is similar, because I mentioned this to somebody, and they said, where in the Bible does it say that how the Antichrist gets his power? It's in Daniel. It says he buys his military. He buys them at a price. He gives them power. He gives them leadership in nations and all this other stuff. And so it's really just really interesting what is happening with the Board of Peace, all the money that's going around, and this military power that Trump is projecting. Mike Pompeo, as Ayatollahs crack down on protesters, the response of both internal and external forces in Iran will be critical. If America follows through on our promises to back the Iranian people, we could see the collapse of this rotten regime before long. We need to get this right. And the question is this the right thing to do? It probably honestly is, because there's so many lives at stake. And I just think we need to do something to stop that. But just remember, it's temporary. And I ask the question, what does God want? What does he want in Iran? We're winding down here. A Talmudic origin of the crushing of the glass at a Jewish wedding. When you yell, Mazel Tov, the practice stems from the Talmud, a central text of rabbinic Judaism, where a sage broke an expensive glass. And why did he do it? To temper overwhelming joy, reminding guests that happiness should be mixed with reflection on suffering, referencing the verse, I will remember Jerusalem above my highest joy. And this is actually pretty lovely, isn't it? This is the thing. Our teacher here, Gary, is taking us through Ecclesiastes. We're about ready to end there. And isn't that where Solomon ends up? Where he says, we've got to enjoy. He says, enjoy your work, enjoy the things. But he says they're fleeting. They're fleeting. Don't chase after them. He says, go after God. And I think he knew the truth at the end. I think he does know the truth. But he's built a kingdom of 700 wives, 300 concubines, and a mess of high places and idol worship. And now he's in his books is lamentating over a lot of that stuff. Believing in Jesus but not obeying him is exactly what Satan does. This is what Tom Hughes put out today, and I just thought that was applicable. Let's just end here, back to Daniel 2. And in the days of those kings of the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to other people. It shall break in pieces all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, and his kingdom shall stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no hand, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. A great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation sure. I want to remind you of what's written in the book of Hebrews in chapter 11. That Abraham was looking for a city that was made without hands. This kingdom is coming. It's not made by human hands. Now, human hands will build it. Read, I think it's Isaiah 57, 58, 59, those chapters in there. People will come from the ends of the earth to give Jesus silver and gold and help him build. Remember when Tyre was helping Solomon, the king of Tyre there? That's the typology that's going to happen in the Middle East again, in Israel. That will happen again. They will bring gifts to him and all those kinds of things. But the kingdom itself and the government is not human. It's not made by human hands. It is made by Christ himself. The second woe has passed. Behold, the third woe is coming shortly. Then the seventh angel sounded his trumpet, and loud voices called out to heaven. In heaven, the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders I take to be the church, who sit on their thrones before God, fell on their faces and worshiped God. I say they're the leaders of the church, and I can go through that if anybody has any questions on that. So the leaders of the church are worshiping God Remember, he appoints leaders over everything that he does. Just read 1 Chronicles 21 and 2 and 3 in there and stuff. So that's what's coming. We don't have any worries for these things. We don't need to be worried and complexed about these things. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. That's what Tom Hughes said. And where I am, my servant will be as well. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. And I don't know about you, but the creator of all the universe, honoring, that means to take care of, help, love. That's where I want to be. We're co-heirs with Christ. 2 Timothy 2:12, if we endure, we will also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. Revelation 3:21, to the one who overcomes, I will grant the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. The co-heirs, heirs and co-heirs. And finally, in Revelation 2:26 through 27, and to the one who overcomes and continues in my work until the end, I will give authority over the nations. He will rule them with an iron scepter, shatter them like pottery, just as I received authority from my Father. That's what we have in front of us, and I pray, and we'll all pray to that end. Lord, thank you for the promises that are to come. We're looking at these things, and we're seeing this beautiful nation, and the people I know, most of them, if not all of them, that are listening right now. We've been through really the high points of this nation, or some of them anyway. We've been through the Jesus movement and some really great, fantastic preachers and Bible teachers, and the missionary movement and the extent of the books of the Bible to the nations and the salvation of so many because of what the church has done, what you've done through the church. And so we've just loved what we've seen. And now for the last 15 years, 10 to 15 years, it's been difficult to watch. It's getting more difficult by the day, not the week, not the month, but the day. So help us, encourage us, we pray. Thank you for the body of believers that we are not in this alone. We are in you, in Christ, the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost and the church together. We love you for the opportunity to be there and teach your word in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Okay, now, you all need to say one prayer for me this week so I can fix this computer issue. Because I really thought I did.
I have a question. You know, like we're talking about population declining, and Iran was big into that, I think, already. And now with all those young men, they're just compounded.
There's no use to get married. There's no use to have children. Yeah. In their eyes. Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah. But, you know, one thing too, and I said pray for this computer, pray for the problem. You know, here's a prayer that maybe we could just all say one time this week. Like Habakkuk. The Lord told Habakkuk, in fact, Habakkuk told the Lord, in your wrath, have mercy. So, remember what we talked about, what was happening in Sudan? Where in the refugee groups, they were having Bible studies, and people were getting saved. And that could not have happened if they weren't pushed together, forced together. And so, people, and the Bible talks about this, people, when they're under some punishment, some wrath, some difficulties, they cry out. There's no atheist in the foxhole. They're crying out to the Lord. And God's going to save many in Elam. There's a promise that he will save people in Persia, Russia. So pray right now for the church, because I'm convinced it's growing right now. And we'll pray to that end.